10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 179. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. This is episode 179. If you're brand new to the show, my name is Nick Manella. I am the creator and host of this show, and I'll be guiding you through around a 10-minute jazz lesson. We've been going over a lot lately, and that's all right with me. I'm trying to get as much information into these episodes as possible, but we do generally try to stay under 15 minutes. So just a reminder, you can get the PDF to this episode and every single other episode that we've ever done by going over to our Patreon page, and you can find that by hitting our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon banners, and what that will do is it will bring you over to Patreon where you can donate $3 a month, support the podcast with a very, very small donation, and get far more than $3 worth of value every month. Every month you'll get 4 PDFs. You have access to all 179 of the PDFs when you get into that website. And it just helps keeping the show in high quality and coming at you every single week. And we really appreciate everybody that has donated. So just a note, I am making this podcast very early because when this episode comes out, I will actually be in New Orleans at a friend's wedding. So if you have donated and signed up to become a member of the Patreon family, don't worry, you will get your shout out. It will just be delayed by a couple of weeks because I'm making this very, very early, as I said. All right, so let's jump into today's episode. This one is going to close out our series on voice leading and doing these exercises that I want you to sing. And I'm sure a lot of you are going to be happy about that, but as I keep saying in every single part of this episode, this is some of the most important stuff you can work on. While it's not the most exciting stuff to work on, these are truly the skills you need to be a good jazz musician. To be able to sing through a simple 2-5-1 line, to be able to accomplish that voice leading sound with your voice, it will all transfer onto the instrument and you will be a far better player because of it. So you've got to believe me on this, even though this isn't like really flashy stuff. You don't even have your instrument in your hands. This is key. These might be some of the most important episodes that I've ever made on the show, and I just want to drive that point home. Okay, so in part 1, we did some whole notes. In part 2, we did some half notes. In part 3, we did some quarter notes. So our natural conclusion is to turn these into more traditional eighth note lines that we would actually play over a 2-5-1. But they're also going to be the hardest ones. So that's why I say, if you're just tuning into this episode, go back and check out parts 1 through 3. Make sure you can do that stuff first, then grab the PDF to this part 4, and you may not be able to do it right away. But that's all right. Do not despair. Just keep practicing this stuff until you can faithfully and accurately recreate these lines with your voice, sitting down at a piano, or playing along with the episode, singing along with the episode, and, I'm going to play the chords underneath you, all that good stuff. All right, so let's look at line number 1. So we started out way back in episode 174 with simply a third on the 2 chord, a 7 on the 5 chord, and a 3 on the 1 chord. So the crucial voice leading here is the 7 on the 5 chord to the 3 on the 1 chord. Now you will see that we left that voice leading intact, but now we have composed a line that has a lot more to it. So there's a lot going on in this line now, which is what makes it a little bit more difficult. So let me start by playing it for you. I want you to listen to the and of 4 in the second measure going into the downbeat of the third measure. That's really what we're after here. But now you have to do a lot around that. Let me play it for you first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I want you to sing it after you've heard it twice. Should be kind of catchy, so you should be able to sing it without too much trouble. Here's your starting pitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sing it one more time for me. 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's our line number 1. Let's move on to line number 2. So in our original episode, the whole point of this one was we started on the 7th of the 2 chord, we went to the 3rd on the 5 chord, and then we stayed on that note because the 3rd of the 5 chord is actually the major 7th of the 1 chord. So our point with this line was to start the first measure on the 7th, start the second measure on the 3rd, and then we wanted to resolve to the major 7th of the 1 chord. So let's check out what we've prepared for this one. Here's line number 2, 3, 4. A little bit more complicated, has some complicated rhythms in it. Now you sing it. Here's your starting pitch. 2, 3, 4. And you should have ended on this pitch. Try it again. Here's your starting pitch. 3, 4. Now again, you should be on this pitch. Okay, let's move on to our next line. So in this one, our original voice leading back in episode 174 was the same as the previous line, except now we're resolving to a minor 7 chord. So the 7th of C minor 7 is going to be 1/2 step below the 3rd of the 5 chord. So if you look at your sheet, we're trying to go from a C to a B to a B flat. And that is our concern in this line. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. So let's check out line number 3. I will play it first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I'd like you to sing it. Here's your starting pitch. 3, 4. And you should have ended here. Okay, here's your starting pitch. Sing it again. 2, 3, 4. And again, you should be here. All right, there's line number 3. Now, line number 4, the one that we're going to finish up on, also goes to a minor 1 chord. And our point here was to start on the 3rd over the 2 chord, play the 7th over the 5 chord, and then resolve that to the 3rd over the 1 chord, which turns out to be an E flat instead of an E natural. So what you'll notice is at the end of measure 2, we maintain that voice leading of the F leading us into the E flat. And then we filled in a lot of stuff in between. This is the hardest one. This one's straight eighth notes the entire time. So there's no resting, there's no anything. You have to, sing 16 different pitches as you go through the 2 measures and then faithfully land on that E flat over the 1 chord. Let's check out what it sounds like. Here we go. We're going to do this one a little bit slower. 2, 3, 4. You'll hear over the 5 chord, we have some chromatic stuff. So that's where I'm really, really challenging you, is over that 5 chord to be able to hear those chromatics. Here it is again. 3, 4. Okay, now it's your turn to sing it. Here's your starting pitch. 2, 3, 4. And you should have ended here. Try it again. Here's your starting pitch. 3, 4. That's where you should have ended. Okay, so there you have it. That is all 4 parts of our voice leading exercises. I hope that you found this useful. I hope that it benefited you in some way. Maybe by doing something that you never do, singing, you discovered that there's a whole other world to learning jazz and really working on your ears. Remember, working on your ears is literally the most important part of playing jazz. If you're not working on your ears, you're not doing it right. And one of the best ways to work on your ears is to sing, to make sure that you can reproduce with your human instrument what you're hearing with your ears. So really stick with this. I'm begging you, please stick with this until you can do it all the way. You will notice improvement right away, but if you keep doing this, write out some lines for yourself and do like 5 minutes of singing every day. That would be fantastic for you. And after a while, you would really, really start to notice that you have a different connection with your instrument and a different connection with playing changes. And you just start to hear all this fantastic stuff that maybe you weren't able to hear before. Okay? So remember, go and grab the PDF, especially for this episode. I think that the PDF is really important. So 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, go over there, get yourself signed up, and you'll have instant access to all the PDFs at that site. All right, everybody, ask me any questions that you might have over in the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson community group on Facebook. Just search for that exact term. I will let you into the group, and we can have as many discussions as we'd like about this stuff. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you for supporting on Patreon. Really appreciate it. Couldn't do this without you. And we'll see you next week with some brand new episodes. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.